Have you ever wondered why some actions feel as natural as breathing, while others require a Herculean effort? Well, it's all down to a little thing we call habits. Imagine stepping into your shoes. Your fingers know exactly where to go, how to loop the laces, and when to pull tight. You don't need to consciously think about it, right? That's a habit. It's an automatic response that your brain has developed to a specific situation. Habits are like the invisible scripts that run our lives. They are the routines that we perform daily, so ingrained in us that we don't even notice we're doing them. From brushing our teeth in the morning to scrolling through our phones before bed, these actions have become second nature. But here's where it gets interesting. Habits are not just mindless activities. They are the brain's way of saving energy. Think about it. If we had to concentrate on every little thing we did, we'd be exhausted by breakfast. By turning regular activities into habits, the brain can focus on other things, like learning new skills or solving complex problems. Now, not all habits are created equal. Some are beneficial, like exercising regularly or eating a balanced diet. These habits can enhance our health and well-being and even contribute to our success. On the other hand, some habits, like excessive screen time or unhealthy eating, can hinder our progress and well-being. The power of habits lies in their ability to shape our lives. They can guide us towards our goals, or they can lead us astray. They can make our lives easier, or they can make them more difficult. And the most fascinating part? Most of the time, we're not even aware of the impact they're having. So habits are powerful, but how do they take root in our lives? Hang on, and you'll discover the answer soon. Imagine this. You moved to a new city and decided to explore the neighborhood. You found a charming coffee shop and started visiting every morning. Now, let's take a step back and observe what's happening here. You're in a new city with unfamiliar surroundings and you're seeking something constant, something familiar. That's when you stumble upon this coffee shop. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee, the friendly barista, the comforting hum of the coffee grinder. It all feels inviting. So you decide to go there the next day and the day after that and the day after that. You see, our brains are wired to seek patterns. We're creatures of habit after all. When we do something repeatedly, our brain starts to recognize it as a pattern, and it begins to automate the process. It's like putting a car on cruise control. Your brain is the car, and the habit is the destination. So every morning, as you walk down the same path to the coffee shop, your brain starts to anticipate the route. It remembers the turns, the crosswalks, even the timing of the traffic lights. It's doing all of this in the background while you're busy planning your day or catching up on your favorite podcast. This repeated action, this routine of going to the coffee shop, is gradually becoming a habit. But here's the interesting part. You're not consciously deciding to make it a habit. It's just happening naturally, almost effortlessly. This is the birth of a habit. It starts with a trigger, something that initiates the behavior. In this case, it's the morning time and your desire for a cup of coffee. Then comes the routine, which is your daily visit to the coffee shop. And finally, there's a reward. The satisfying taste of the coffee and the sense of routine it brings to your day. And just like that, your morning coffee run becomes a habit without you even realizing it. Unbeknownst to you, each habit you form follows a three-part cycle: the cue, the routine, and the reward. Let's delve into this cycle using a simple, everyday scenario. Picture this. You're walking down the street and out of the corner of your eye, you spot a coffee shop. That's the cue. It's the trigger that initiates a behavior. In this case, the sight of the coffee shop stirs a craving inside you, nudging you towards a specific action. Next, we move on to the routine. This is the behavior itself. For our coffee shop scenario, the routine involves you walking into the shop, ordering your favorite coffee, and paying for it. It's a set of actions that you've performed so many times that they've become almost automatic. Finally, we reach the reward. The reward is the benefit gained from the behavior. In this context, the reward could be the delicious taste of the coffee, The caffeine kick, or perhaps the warm, cozy atmosphere of the shop that makes you feel at ease. It's the satisfying end result that makes the whole process worthwhile and reinforces the habit. So to recap, we have the cue, the sight of the coffee shop, the routine, walking in and ordering your coffee, and the reward, enjoying your coffee and the ambience of the shop. This cyclical pattern, cue, routine, reward, forms the backbone of every habit you have. It's like a loop track in your brain. Each time you follow the cycle, the track gets more deeply ingrained, making the habit stronger and more automatic. However, it's important to note that not all habits are beneficial. Some can lead to negative outcomes, like unhealthy eating or excessive screen time. But by understanding this three-part cycle, you can start to identify the cues and rewards that drive your habits and begin to make conscious changes. Once this cycle is established, it can be challenging to break. But understanding it is the first step towards mastering your habits. Now, you may be wondering, what's happening in my brain when I form a habit? Well, let's find out. Imagine your brain as a bustling city with cars zipping down highways and side streets. These roads are like the neural pathways in your brain. When you do something new, it's like driving down a new street. The first few times, it might be a bit tricky, and you'll need to pay close attention to where you're going. But what happens when you take the same route every day? Just like that familiar drive to work or school, your brain starts to recognize the pattern. The neural pathway that represents this action becomes well-trodden, like a frequently used road. The cars, or neural impulses, start traveling faster and more efficiently down this pathway. This is called neural plasticity. The brain literally reshapes itself based on your experiences. Now, let's talk about a chemical called dopamine. It's often called the feel-good neurotransmitter because it's released when we do things we enjoy. When you perform an action that leads to a reward, say eating a chocolate bar, your brain releases dopamine. This makes you feel good, and it also strengthens the neural pathway associated with that action. In other words, dopamine is like a construction crew that paves the neural highway, making it easier for cars to travel down it in the future. In addition to dopamine, another chemical called myelin also plays a key role in habit formation. Myelin is a fatty substance that wraps around the neurons in your brain, like insulation around a wire. The more an action is repeated, the more myelin is produced, which speeds up the transmission of neural impulses. In other words, myelin is like the express lane on your neural highway. So, the science behind habits is all about repetition, reward, and reinforcement. The more you perform an action, the more your brain strengthens the neural pathway associated with that action. And the stronger the neural pathway, the more automatic the action becomes. So, the more you perform an action, the stronger the habit becomes. It's your brain's way of saving energy. Now that you know what habits are and how they form, the question is, how can you make them work for you? It's a fascinating question, isn't it? We've been on a journey exploring the nature of habits, their birth, the three-part cycle, and even the science behind them. Now, it's time to master these habits. Let's start with forming beneficial habits. The secret lies in the three-part cycle we discussed earlier: the cue, the routine, and the reward. To establish a new habit, you must first identify a clear and consistent cue. It could be a time of day, a location, or even a preceding action. Next, you need a routine, the action you want to become habitual. Finally, a reward is crucial. It's the positive reinforcement that will make your brain associate the cue and the routine with a pleasant outcome. Breaking harmful habits, on the other hand, can be trickier. Here, understanding the habit cycle is even more important. You need to identify the cue and the reward driving your unwanted habit. Once you've done that, you can start to change the routine. Remember, the brain craves the reward, not the routine. So, if you can find a new, healthier routine that delivers the same reward, you're on your way to breaking that harmful habit. But don't expect change to happen overnight. Patience is key. It takes time to form new neural pathways and to weaken the old ones. So keep at it, even when it's tough. Remember to celebrate your victories, no matter how small. Each successful step is a testament to your willpower and determination. Mastering your habits is not just about control. It's about understanding your own mind, your triggers, and your rewards. It's about making conscious decisions that lead to unconscious actions. It's about creating a life that you're happy to wake up to every day. Remember, habits are powerful tools. Use them wisely, and they can transform your life for the better.